Hey everyone, Pixel Geek here. Hope you're having a great day. So this is the second interview of a semi-finalist in the Pixel Geek No Code Awards. And this one is for the category of functional, and it's a team of creators. And I'll just bring on the team one of the team members right now, Mason Poe from Edgar Allen. Hello.
Hey, good to talk with you today.
Yes, welcome and congrats on getting into the semifinals.
Yeah, very excited to be here. Really excited to see kind of what you're growing and what you've been putting together. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much for the support. So, yeah, your website, Tate Law, Stanley Tate, student loan lawyer, made it to the semifinals. It got a lot of votes from the Pixel Geek community. And before we get into the actual, like, why did you build the website? How did it come about? A little bit more about you and your team. Can you tell us?
Yeah, so we're based in Atlanta. Team of 12. We've been working in Webflow for the past 6 years, so really early adopters. Yeah,
Whoa.
and yeah, kind of grown up alongside of Webflow. And one of the reasons why we started using the tool is we have this idea that great companies have great stories, and that to have a really great story, we knew that we needed to work in a platform that allowed for our clients to be able to have an idea and then be able to push that out into market.
Yeah.
And so Webflow is one of those tools that really does empower authoring. And so that's how we've kind of come along and what we've been focusing in on. And and one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this project and how we've been able to work with Stanley.
Yeah, yeah. So 6 years. I didn't realize you were using it since 2014. So back then, I'm trying to remember.
It
That
was
was
early. We were doing mostly just prototyping in it,
yeah,
uh, and kind of using it to deliver HTML to developers that they would then connect into other systems.
yeah. I remember those days. I mean, Webflow started out as just a landing page builder. So was that during the day when you can only make one page?
It was shortly after that. So you could make multiple pages. There was
Oh,
no
okay.
CMS.
Yeah,
I believe, I don't know if there was interactions yet. If there were, it was
yeah,
interactions 1.0. But
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what drew you in? What was that spark? I always like to ask that question. Like, what was that spark that made you go, "Yo, this is where we're gonna put our business on. We're gonna go full force on this."
It was interesting. I'm so jaded by most marketing that I kind of looked at it the first time, saw it on Designer News, and I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was actually a video from Sergey talking about how they didn't get into Y Combinator and what their
Ah,
mission was. And I was like, okay, I like them. I like them as people, and I like where they're going. And so at that point is when I dug in.
nice. Nice. That's cool. Well, congrats to you and your team for continually growing with Webflow. And I guess every feature from that point forward, you're like, yes, we're in. And you just got deeper and deeper. And just like myself, I couldn't stop using it and use it every day, and it's just so amazing what the team is doing. But yeah, let's fast forward to now the Stanley Tate website that you created. Can you tell us a little bit about that project? What you built it for? Like what? Where did you get started with this?
Yeah, and I'd probably like to also just sort of say, you'd said it was our site. I really view it as, it's Stanley's site, and he was gracious enough to kind of invite us to come and help. And when I think about the team, one of the things we try to really do is work collaboratively with our clients. And
Nice.
so, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have him on, because
Mhm.
one, I just learned, not to make you blush or anything, Stanley, but it's I learned quite a bit from him. And this was kind of he had a lot of the brand language in place. He was on WordPress, kind of wanting to migrate it over into Webflow. Webflow migrations are always, I think, if we wanted to talk about challenges, that's definitely like, it's a challenge.
Oh yeah, I'll ask about that later.
And then starting to get into, like complicated form submissions, things along those lines. But yeah, just really proud of the end product, but also just how we were able to work together and kind of pair up. And, Whit, who really led a lot of the build and wasn't able to make the call today, he was able to kind of just sync up with Stanley and the two of them, kind of off to the races. Like we're able to get some great stuff together and out there into the world.
Nice. Yeah. Well, let's bring Stanley into the conversation. Stanley, how you doing?
Chilla Nelson, how you doing?
Doing well. Awesome setup that you have right now. Like your camera tech is so on point.
Man, Cam Link and a Sony A7R II and some lighting. That's it.
There it goes. Okay, I will learn from you. I will get to that level. But yeah, so tell me more about yourself and then how you got in contact to make your contact with Edgar Allan to start making the switch over to Webflow.
Yeah, so I'm a lawyer by trade and I help people with student loan issues. And I launched a site back in like 2014 on WordPress and kind of just slowly iterated through there through design. And I was looking for something that offered more control over functionality, especially when making UX changes. It was really frustrating having to work with a developer and then waiting on that timetable to make simple changes to structures of a page. Like I can go in and change the CSS and everything like that, but I'm not really strong at PHP and doing all these things and then having to like build all these different pages. And at some point I got introduced to Webflow and I was like, yo, this is like a great tool, like to just go in there. When I started playing with it, I was like building and doing things myself, learning how to do it. Then suddenly I got to the point where I realized, you know what? You can design something that looks good. And I can do that as someone who doesn't focus on web design all the time. I can do that part.
Yeah.
But really where you get lost at is when you're looking at the efficiency of the code itself. Because you can generate a lot of bullshit code just trying to do too much and like not paying attention to your classes.
Yeah.
So I started looking at things and I came across Edgar Allan's website when it dealt with there used to be a thing with like Webflow where like with images, how you can like size the images, and it was kind of more complicated process than it is now when setting background images. Edgar Allan had like a really great post breaking down their system on it. And so then I just started looking at their website more, and they put together kind of this series of how they go about their naming conventions for their classes.
Yeah.
And it just showed a level of thought in the overall process. And I said, you know what? I'm going to hire these dudes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I can afford them. Maybe I can't. I don't fucking know. But like, I'm going to reach out and figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I reached out to them, kind of told them what I was looking for, gave them the kind of timeline I was looking for, and kind of like design things.
Yeah.
And we linked up from there. And it was like a really dope collaborative process. So I'm just a huge fan of Webflow itself and like what control it gives me.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you understood the pain points of WordPress and trying to do things on your own as much as possible. And I guess it comes to show you can see a developer's you can see a developer's strengths when it comes to even class naming, because a lot of people don't realize that that's as important as the design, the structure, the look and feel of a website, because it all starts from the actual foundation of a website. And it's pretty cool that you actually took the time to research. Well, you are a lawyer, so you do research a lot. So you did a lot of research on Edgar Allan, and yeah, I'm glad you guys linked up. So let's talk about your website. How did that migration go? If one of you want to speak on it, like how did it start? What hurdles did you have to go through? Because migrating right now with Webflow, it is not a straightforward process to migrate from WordPress to Webflow. So I see some laughs. So what is the story behind that?
Yeah, I find the migration is really it's kind of best accomplished by banging your head on the keyboard. That's probably like the most efficient way to bring that stuff over. Um, but now, like, what we did was, we set up a lot of the structures, and then, Stanley actually kind of worked on, the migration itself. Like after we were able to get the CSV kind of like downloaded it, I brought it into Apple Numbers, did a little bit of cleanup. We went back and forth within the CSV. And Stanley, I'll let you kind of talk more about just that process, which I know is like probably the most painful part of this.
Yeah, I mean that sucked, and it makes you think like, why did I even do this? Because if you're starting from scratch on Webflow and you don't have like a CMS in place, so you only have like your 5 pages, it's easy, no problems.
Yeah.
But when you convert over like a CMS that has over 100 something posts with images, custom classes baked inside of the post and everything like that with short codes, it's a pain in the butt because you have to go through each individual post and kind of clean up things as they are, because it's affecting it in certain ways when you just like import it and upload it up. There's all these subtle problems that you don't even realize that are going on. So I literally had to go through like 150 something blog posts and clean up the code and get everything in place. And then to take full advantage of the CMS, like with Webflow, you have to change out how your hyperlinks are as well, because like if you use their internal page link structure, then you can update it across the board with one click.
Yeah.
But if you just have the link in there, then you can't do it. So that part absolutely sucked. The other part was the 301 redirects that had to occur, because how the CMS works when you're changing that link structure to add in the learn / or whatever you're calling the actual CMS, then you have to set up the redirects for all those. And there's really not a great way to do a wildcard in regex for it. And so then you end up manually going through redirecting all of those and uploading them in one at a time. So that was about a 4 or 5 day process of getting all that redirected. And it's scary because like I live off organic traffic, right?
Yeah.
Like 80% of my website is organic traffic. And I do in a good month, on average, about 10,000 visitors a month. And so that's huge for me, like to have any drop off whatsoever.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, a month after we had everything in place and kind of tweaked everything, there wasn't a drop off at all. And so I was happy with that. And like, I'm excited to see where we're going, because like it's only been since July. So a lot of these pages, aside from the 301 juice they have, just getting everything set up and still getting read by Google. Like I'm excited to see where the growth comes.
Yeah, there must have been a point, because you glossed over it, because you said, but I didn't lose any SEO juice. There must have been a point with like a whole week of sweating. I feel like there's a whole week of sweating.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
is this working?
Like,
is this working?
Yeah, like on day one, when you're just like changing the domain structure up, because like not only, so then I have to have the www dot prefix in front of it, like, and I was already set up where it just without that in there. So then getting that read was a pain, just like sweating, like what the hell is going on? Why isn't it picking it up? And then getting a canonical structure in order. Like it was really scary, but I told myself, just be patient through the process. Trust is going to work. There weren't a lot of models to look at, because a lot of things I saw on Webflow that were existing were either these projects in theory or something that started in Webflow, so you didn't have a migration that you could see. And actually, there wasn't talk about SEO growth and tracking what it looked like. I just didn't see that article. Like Webflow has one on there just about how to do it, but there's not a case study that goes, here's was my traffic beforehand, here's where it's been at thus far, here are the issues we face, and all these things. So I didn't have certainty, like, or of any precedence to look at. So it was really just like, cross your fingers, hope. Worst case scenario, I lose for a couple months and I go back to WordPress and say, I'll never deal with Webflow again. But that hasn't been the case. It's been awesome.
So Mason, you must have been sweating too, to once you press that publish button, and changed over the A records for his domain name.
Yeah, and I would say, like, actually, and again, because we really did partner with Stanley on this, and again, like, I give him so much. I learned so much about Airtable from Stanley on this project. It's like insane, like the stuff that he's running there. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like pre-work that we try to do around like the relationship between the different collections. and how those would start to work. And then, once we started getting into the migration, doing as much as we can in spreadsheets and cleaning that up. But yeah, at some point you just start to jump out into ether and like fingers crossed, hope it all comes together. I remember like when like Stanley had emailed me and like we were trying to get the domain record to show up. And I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden I was like, all right, it's propagated, because like stuff on Webflow, one of the things that's nice is like once it clicks, like it's up
It's
and
up, yeah.
it so that was great to see, like when it finally like cut over and it was all up and around.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. It's so, I feel like, you've that's a huge hurdle. That's yeah, jumping out into uncharted territory and trusting in the process. Now when did you launch this?
July.
Oh,
Like, yeah, it
just
was like July, like towards the beginning of it.
oh, this July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so now looking back, um, it, now use Stanley. So now looking back and using Webflow to maintain your site, like how do you feel now?
Um, I mean, I love it just because like whatever idea I have about use case wise, I know I can reach out to someone or I can like map it out in Figma myself and say, okay, here's kind of structure we're looking for. We already because of the genius of like the class system and how I explain to like my lawyer friends how Webflow is, it's just a bunch of Lego blocks when it's all built correctly. And then you just throw your Lego blocks together and just switch components from this page to this page to this page, and you have a brand new page, and it took you literally 30 minutes. And if you want to do something custom, I can literally just go into Figma, design it there, take the PNG file, put it in the background in Webflow, and then sketch over the top of it, and I'm done. And so it's, to me, that's the beauty of the tool itself, is that whatever idea you have, we can do that. And so like before the call, I was talking to Mason and said, hey, I know I'm going to start doing webinars. Let's go ahead and just use Webflow to make that happen. And then Webflow with an integration with Typeform, I can basically have the entire billing for a paid webinar on there really smoothly. And because that was also one of the hurdles we had was creating a customizable form with conditional logic in Webflow.
Yeah.
It's not really set up for that.
Yeah.
But we built a beautiful thing at first. But then once I got to looking at Typeform, I was like, actually, let's just embed Typeform in there. And then on top of that, the way we did the hero was like, we looked at video ask, and we're like, we can have a static hero here, or we can have a video playing, but why not just use video ask and take a journey down this conditional logic page? And so just using those things and being able to play with them has been like super dope. And I don't know why you would use anything else unless you have like an e-commerce website that does numbers. I don't see why you wouldn't be using Webflow.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Webflow does have its limitations, as you've noticed when you're migrating, but the light on the other side just makes everything much more fun, and you can now focus more on your business than how do I fix the theme CSS, or how do I use Divi element, which panel module do I not touch? Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
it's
hope you
literally
don't
copy
get
and paste.
hacked, right?
Yeah, it's literally copy and paste, right?
Yeah.
Like you just grab the thing you need, put it on a page you want, and you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the coolest parts about this project was, sort of like kind of deliver this toolkit over to Stanley, is out into the world, and then kind of going back and checking on the site every once in a while. I'll just, see what's up, and I'd be like, oh, Stanley's got a new hero up there. And it was like maybe, I don't know, like maybe a month or two afterwards that you did the video ask update, Stanley. And like, we never heard from him on that. So it was great. He'd kind of taken that piece, been able to put it out there. And I was like, man, that looks so good, and everything that Stanley works on, like, it's everything from like, even, we were just talking about his like video quality, but it's all, it all just comes together in a really great way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you both so much. Congrats on the launch, and congrats getting the semifinals. Hopefully you can get to the finals or even win the whole thing for the team category, team division. Thank you, Stanley. Thank you, Mason, and the Edgar Allen team for creating an awesome website. And thanks again for your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Nelson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
it's great to
pleasure.
talk.
Oh, and lastly, shout out. Go ahead and shout out links, Twitters, or whatever. So we'll start with Stanley.
Find me if you got student loan problems, you need help with it. Find me at tateesq.com. That's TATEESQ.com.
Yeah, and we're on Twitter. Edgar Allan Co. You can also, if you want to do a search for our Webflow for Teams, Edgar Allan, we actually list out like our whole approach to class systems, and we're looking at launching kind of our core base template as an open source project within the next month or so.
Oh, nice.
So anyone that's interested in kind of getting a preview of that, I was thinking about doing some demos over the next few weeks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Cool. Thanks, Nelson.
Thanks.